All right, y'all, welcome back to another video. Now I'm back to tell you another story. This is a real true life story involving myself and involving the website Plenty of Fish. Okay, now y'all already know where this is going. Okay, Plenty of Fish. Now if you don't know what Plenty of Fish is, you probably should. It's a dating site. It's a free dating site, and it's a free dating site. You know, most sites, you know, you got to pay for, you know, to send messages back and forth. Plenty of Fish, you don't have to do that. And I never met anybody off Plenty of Fish up until this story. And this story happened to me the other night, and I was kind of like wondering if I should tell a story, but I'm like, I'm not gonna say her name, so it don't matter, you know what I mean? Because I'm not gonna show a profile, or I'm not gonna say her name, so I guess it's all right. All right, so I've been on Plenty of Fish for a while, you know, just fucking around. And Plenty of Fish, it's one of those sites where everybody is shallow on that site. You know, everybody's looking for their perfect looking mate on that site. You know, and men, we do the same thing. We look for the hottest females, and that's who we message. Okay, but this is not how I met this female. I didn't see her profile and just send her a message, right? You know, they got that that section on there where you could just like photos. You know, do you like her? And if it's a mutual match, you will find out or whatever. I didn't pay for that, but if it's a mutual match, you go back and, you know, if it's a mutual match, it'll let you know that it's a mutual match. So I was like, okay, this female, you know, it's kind of embarrassing, man, because I'm like, man, I'm on, you know, what the fuck, I'm telling this Plenty of Fish story. All right, look. All right, so, you know, it's a mutual match. So I'm like, all right, she's an older female. You know, I don't really too much want to date nobody older than me. But, because, you know, I just, at this age, I don't want too much drama. You know what I mean? So, how it started out, okay, it was a mutual match. I still didn't hit her up. So then she hit me up saying, hello, you know, how are you doing? So I'm like, okay, you know, she's an all right looking female, right? She's all right. So I'm like, all right, let me hit her back. I'm like, hey, what's up? You know, how you doing? Like, what city you from? Because she lived in my state. So what city you from? She told me. So then she was like, you know, do you got Facebook? So I'm like, at this point, I don't know if she a dude or not. So I don't want to give her my Facebook. Like, my method is usually I just like, yo, let's get on Skype. Or if you got an iPhone, let's get on FaceTime. I need to know this is a fucking female, you know, before I go any further. So I'm like, you know, I'm not trying to disrespect you or anything, but I need to know you a female. I don't, because you could be a dude. And she took offense to it. Oh, I'm not a dude, you know, once you see my Facebook photos, you know, you'll know what time it is. I said, no, you could be using your friend's photos. I'm not falling for that. I've been online since AOL days. I know how this shit works. You know what I mean? I know when somebody is fucking lying. And I kind of felt that she was lying. Now, she wasn't no dude. Now, finally, on the Facebook, you know, you can hit the Facebook video. So we were talking on there for a little bit. You know, she was cool, you know what I mean? She, you know, I wasn't really feeling her, and I should have went with my gut instinct. I'm like, I'm not feeling this woman, you know what I mean? First of all, she a little too, I don't mind older women, but, you know what I mean? She's just a little bit too old for my taste, just a little bit. But I was still gonna be like, all right, I'm at least meet her, you know what I mean? So I said to her, you know, I'm not trying to be a pervert or nothing, but, you know, I need you to stand up. You know what I mean? She was like, oh, and then she took it the wrong way, like, you know, I'm trying to be a pervert or whatever. She said, well, I don't have too much on. I don't want to do that. So I'm like, all right. I mean, she wasn't, big or anything, but I knew she got a lot to hide. So to make a long story short, the other day we decided to meet up. It's this bar out here. It's like you could just go eat, get a table, or just sit at the bar. So I'm like, yeah, I'll meet you at the bar. She didn't live too far from there. So, and I was in the area, so I said, yeah, we can meet up there. So she comes in, you know what I mean? She looking all right for, the older woman. She looking all right. So she was like, yeah, she was like, yeah, I got something to tell you, but I ain't gonna get into it right now. She was like, I'm kind of attached. So I'm like, all right, you know what I mean? That's cool. That's cool. You kind of attached. That's, I'm not expecting nothing anyway. She should have told me that before we met up. So we had a few drinks, and then she got in her car. Then I got a Uber home because I wasn't too far from there, so I got an Uber home. No big deal. So last night, I get a text message, from a unidentified number. He was like, who the fuck is this? So I was like, I didn't answer it. I'm like, okay, it's probably her dude or whatever the case may be. So then he kept blowing my phone up and was like, yo, call me. Who the fuck is this? Hitting up my wife. You know what I mean? Saying all types of crazy shit. So I said, listen, I didn't know she... I said, listen, I didn't know she was married, first of all. And I said, number two, just stop texting me. I won't hit the woman up no more. She's not worth my time any damn way. And then I thought it was over with. Because usually if you hit people up like that, it'll be over. It wasn't over. So then he escalated and started calling me. So I'm like, all right, you know what? I don't need this bullshit, man. I told you, like, when I meet women, I don't need that extra drama. Like, you know what I mean? I just want somebody just down to earth and chill. I don't need no baby daddies hitting me up. I don't need none of that shit. So this dude started calling me. So, after the third or fourth call, I picked up. I'm like, yo, man, what's your problem, man? I said, I didn't know she was married. Make a long story short, she's not married. But he calls her his wife, so whatever, right? He's like, yeah, man, so how did y'all meet? I said, we met on Plenty of Fish, Mom. I'm not gonna cuss. But I cussed a little bit. I said, we met on Plenty of Fish. What the fuck is your problem? And why the fuck you keep calling me? I just told you what the deal was. I'm not gonna hit her up no more. So, fuck off. Fuck off my phone. This is what I'm saying. At this point, I'm getting a little bit agitated. So he started, like, saying some tough shit, like, yeah, we can meet up and all this kind of stuff. I said, listen, she not worth fighting over, bro. She's not worth fighting over, and I'm not fighting over her. So you can have her fucking ass. And so then I hung up the phone on him. So then, obviously kept calling back, and then, I hit her up like, yo, what the fuck is going on? Get this dude, stop talking to me and stop calling me. So then finally she hit me up saying she apologized and stuff like that. And that was it. All off Plenty of Fish. I get hit up by some old crazy ass dude. And he texts me again this morning, but it ain't about nothing, I just ignore it at this point. Some people, they're not worth your time. Like, it's not worth me going to sit up in the mountains over no coward. Cause he's saying, oh, where you live at and all this, I want to see you. First of all, that's not happening. I guess the way I was talking to him kind of made him more upset. I'm like, she's not worth it, and you're not worth me sitting up in the mountains. And, I admit I cussed at him a little bit, told him to go fuck himself, stuff like that, but nothing bad. Just go fuck yourself. But that's my Plenty of Fish story, man. She was 48 years old. She was 48. And, I don't mind women with kids. You know what I mean? I don't mind, but she had too many kids for me. You know what I mean? I would prefer a woman without kids, but I would prefer. However, I don't mind kids, just as long as you ain't got that baby daddy drama, which she did. She had that baby daddy drama. I'm assuming those were her kids' dad. I don't know. And yeah, man, the dude called me saying he with the shits. He said, everybody know who the fuck I am. I'm with the motherfucking shits. I said, oh shit. I said, yo, fuck yourself. I'm with the shits too. So go. I said it all proper and shit. I said, I'm with the shits too. Oh shit, man. All over some motherfucking Plenty of Fish. He said he with the motherfucking shits. Go ask about him. I said, damn. Anyway, I don't expect much off Plenty of Fish any damn way. You know what I mean? I don't expect much off there. And it's either older women hit me up. That's all I get anyway. You know what I mean? Older women love my ass. I'm talking about y'all grandmothers. Y'all, they love me. I'm talking about 50 or better. They love me. I don't know what it is. But anyway, that's my Plenty of Fish story with Mr. Shits. He said, I am motherfucking with the shits. I said, I am with the shits too. Oh man. He said he was with the shits. And better ask about him. Saying he trying to meet up with me over her. I said, you can have her, baby. You can have her. But I'm glad it worked out the way it did, because what if he had followed her somewhere? What if he had followed her somewhere and then followed to the bar and then he gonna try to fight me over? It's not worth it, man. But that's my Plenty of Fish story, man. I got out of it unscathed, but it is what it is. So that's my story for the day, man. Hope everybody have a wonderful day. Look forward to your comments. Until next time, peace.